Keanu Reeves, sitting on a park bench with a homeless boy. It was a chilly autumn afternoon in New York City. The golden leaves danced in the wind as they fell onto the pavement of Central Park. A few people jogged past, some walked their dogs, but for the most part, the park was quiet. Keanu Reeves sat on a wooden bench, dressed in a simple black coat and jeans, his signature long hair slightly tousled by the breeze. He was sipping a coffee, lost in thought, when a boy no older than 10 sat down at the other end of the bench. The boy's clothes were worn, his sneakers covered in dried mud. His small hands were stuffed deep into the sleeves of his oversized hoodie. He glanced at Keanu with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. "You're him, aren't you?" the boy finally asked, breaking the silence. Keanu turned to him, a small smile playing on his lips. "Who do you think I am?" The boy tilted his head. "John Wick, Neo, that guy in the memes." Keanu chuckled. "Yeah, that's me." He took another sip of his coffee before asking, "What's your name?" "Tyler," the boy said, looking away. Keanu noticed the way Tyler hugged himself, the way his shoulders tensed like he was always on guard. He recognized that feeling, the weight of the world pressing down on a soul too young to carry it. "You come here often?" Keanu asked. Tyler shrugged. "Now and then. It's quiet here." Keanu nodded. "I get that. Sometimes you just need a place to breathe." For a moment they sat in silence, listening to the rustling leaves. Then Keanu reached into a paper bag beside him and pulled out a wrapped sandwich. Without a word he held it out to Tyler. The boy hesitated before taking it. "Thanks," he muttered. Keanu watched as Tyler unwrapped the sandwich and took a small bite, as if testing whether this kindness was real. After a while, Keanu spoke again. "You got someone looking out for you, Tyler?" The boy's chewing slowed. He avoided Keanu's gaze. "Not really." Keanu nodded, taking in the unspoken truth. "You're strong, you know that?" Tyler snorted. "I don't feel strong." Keanu leaned back on the bench, looking up at the sky. "Strength isn't about feeling like a hero. Sometimes just getting through the day is enough." Tyler took another bite. "You ever been homeless?" Keanu glanced at him, then back at the park. "Yeah. A long time ago, before all of this." He gestured vaguely at himself, at the world that now recognized his face. Tyler's eyes widened. "Really?" Keanu nodded. "It was tough, but you find kindness in the strangest places." He smiled. "And sometimes you sit on a park bench with a stranger who understands." Tyler stared at him for a long moment before looking down at the sandwich. "Thanks for this and for talking to me." Keanu smiled warmly. "Anytime, kid." As the sun began to set, the two of them sat there in comfortable silence. Just a famous actor and a boy who had no one. But for that brief moment, they weren't alone. And sometimes, that was enough. Here's the continuation of the story. Keanu Reeves sitting on a park bench with a homeless boy. Part 2. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the park, Tyler finished the last bite of his sandwich. He wiped his hands on his hoodie and glanced at Keanu, his expression unreadable. "You really were homeless?" Tyler asked again, as if trying to confirm it wasn't just a story. Keanu nodded. "Yeah. After my best friend passed away, I was lost. I didn't have much money, nowhere to go. I slept on benches, sometimes in my car when I had one. It wasn't easy." Tyler's gaze softened. "So how did you, get out of it?" Keanu exhaled, rubbing his hands together for warmth. "A little bit of luck, a little bit of kindness, and a lot of not giving up. I worked small jobs, saved up, and kept pushing forward. But I never forgot what it felt like." Tyler nodded slowly, his fingers gripping the edge of the bench. He seemed deep in thought before speaking again. "People don't really notice me. They walk past like I don't exist." Keanu looked at him, his eyes full of understanding. "I see you." The words hung in the air, simple but heavy. Tyler blinked as if no one had ever said that to him before. He sniffed and quickly wiped at his nose, pretending it was just the cold. Keanu reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small folded piece of paper. He held it out to Tyler. "Here, this is the address of a shelter I know. Good people there. They'll help you." Tyler hesitated, staring at the paper like it was something foreign. "I don't know." "I get it," Keanu said gently. "It's hard to trust, but you don't have to do everything alone." Tyler finally took the paper and stuffed it into his hoodie. He didn't say anything, but Keanu could tell he was thinking about it. Keanu stood up, stretching. "I have to go, but I'll be around. If you ever need someone to talk to, just look for me." I like this bench." Tyler looked up at him, his eyes filled with something that hadn't been there before. Hope. Okay. Keanu gave him a small smile and started walking away, but just before he disappeared down the path, he turned back. "Hey, Tyler." "Yeah? You matter, kid." Tyler sat there, gripping the paper in his pocket, watching as the man who played heroes on screen walked away. But tonight, Keanu Reeves wasn't just an actor. He was real. And for the first time in a long time, Tyler believed that maybe, just maybe, things could get better. Would you like another part? Shot Keanu Reeves sitting on a park bench with a homeless boy. 3. Tyler sat there long after Keanu had disappeared into the city streets. His fingers toyed with the folded piece of paper in his hoodie pocket, his mind torn between hope and fear. Go to the shelter? What if they turned him away? What if they were just like the others, people who promised help but didn't really care? But then he thought about Keanu. The way he looked at him, not through him. The way he had spoken, not with pity, but with understanding. Tyler sighed and stood up. His stomach was full for the first time in days, and for once, he felt like someone actually saw him. Maybe he'd just checked the shelter out. No harm in looking, right? The shelter was a few blocks away, tucked between two old buildings. A flickering neon sign read, "Hope Haven Shelter." Tyler hesitated at the door, staring at the warm light spilling from inside. Then, before he could change his mind, he stepped in. The smell of soup and bread hit him first. Inside, a few people sat at tables eating. Others were wrapped in blankets, talking quietly. A woman behind a desk looked up and smiled at him. "Hey there, kid. You need a place to stay?" Tyler swallowed and nodded. She motioned him over. "Come on, let's get you settled." For the first time in years, Tyler felt something unfamiliar. Safety. Meanwhile, Keanu walked through the streets, hands in his pockets, his mind still on the boy. He had met a lot of people in his life, but something about Tyler had stayed with him. Maybe because he saw himself in the kid. As he turned a corner, he pulled out his phone. "Hey," he said when someone picked up. "I need a favor. There's a kid named Tyler at the Hope Haven shelter. Let's make sure he's got everything he needs." A pause. Then, consider it done. Keanu smiled to himself. Maybe he couldn't change the whole world, but for one kid sitting on a park bench, he could make a difference. And that was enough. The end. Let me know if you'd like more stories like this. Keanu Reeves, sitting on a park bench with a homeless boy, Part 4. Tyler didn't sleep much that night. Even though the bed at the shelter was softer than anything he'd laid on in months, his mind kept racing. Would this place really help him? Would he wake up in the morning and find out it was all just a dream? But the hours passed, and morning came. No one kicked him out. No one looked at him like he didn't belong. When he stepped into the common area, the same woman from the front desk smiled at him. "Hey, Tyler, you hungry?" He nodded hesitantly. "Come grab some breakfast. Pancakes today." Tyler sat at the table with a plate of warm pancakes and a glass of milk. As he ate, he noticed something strange. He wasn't scared. For the first time in a long time, he didn't feel like he had to run. And then something even stranger happened. The front door opened, and he walked in. Keanu Reeves! Tyler froze mid-bite as Keanu spotted him and smiled. He was dressed the same, dark coat, jeans, hair a little messy, but this time he carried a plastic bag in his hand. "Morning," Keanu said, sitting across from Tyler. "How's the food?" Tyler swallowed. "Good." "Good." Keanu placed the bag on the table. "Got something for you." Tyler eyed the bag warily. "What is it?" Keanu grinned. "Open it and see." Tyler hesitated, then slowly pulled the bag toward him and peeked inside. His eyes widened. A brand new pair of sneakers, not expensive ones, but clean, sturdy, real shoes, not the falling apart ones he'd been wearing for months. Tyler looked up at Keanu, his voice quiet. "Why?" Keanu shrugged. "Because I know what it's like to walk through life with bad shoes." Tyler swallowed hard, gripping the bag tighter. No one had ever just done something like this for him before. No catch, no expectations. Keanu leaned back. "So, what's next for you, kid?" Tyler stared at his plate. "I don't know." "That's okay," Keanu said, "but you don't have to figure it all out today. Just take it one step at a time." Tyler nodded. He still wasn't sure what his future looked like, but for the first time in years, he wasn't afraid to think about it. Maybe, just maybe, things really could get better. And if they did, he'd never forget the man who sat on a park bench and saw him when no one else did. To be continued. Would you like me to keep going? Keanu Reeves sitting on a park bench with a homeless boy, Part 5. Tyler sat there, staring at the sneakers in the bag. He didn't know what to say. Words felt too small compared to what he was feeling. Keanu seemed to understand. He didn't push for a thank you or make a big deal out of it. He just sat there, sipping a cup of coffee like they were two old friends catching up. After a moment, Keanu nodded toward the sneakers. Go on, try them on. Tyler hesitated, but then slipped off his battered shoes. His socks were thin and full of holes, and for a second he felt embarrassed. But Keanu didn't say anything. He just watched as Tyler slid his feet into the new sneakers. They fit perfectly. Tyler stood up, taking a few steps. The shoes felt solid, comfortable, like he could run anywhere in them. He looked at Keanu, and for the first time, a small smile crept onto his face. They're good, Keanu grinned. Glad to hear it. Tyler sat back down, staring at his feet. I don't get it, he said quietly. Why do you care? Keanu leaned forward, resting his arms on the table. His face grew serious. Because someone once helped me when I had nothing. They didn't have to, but they did, and that changed everything. Tyler frowned. Who helped you? Keanu's eyes drifted, as if remembering something far away. An old friend. He gave me a place to stay when I had nowhere to go. A warm meal when I was starving. He didn't ask for anything in return, just told me that I mattered. Tyler played with the edge of his hoodie. And what happened to him? Keanu smiled, but there was sadness behind it. He passed away a long time ago, but I never forgot what he did for me. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Keanu leaned back. You don't have to believe me, Tyler, but I'll tell you this. Just because life's been rough doesn't mean it has to stay that way. You get to decide where you go from here. Tyler looked down at his new shoes, his fingers tracing the laces. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Keanu chuckled. No one does. But you don't have to figure it all out today. Just take the first step. Tyler took a deep breath. Maybe, just maybe, Keanu was right. Maybe he wasn't completely alone. Maybe his story wasn't over yet. As Keanu got up to leave, he pulled out a small card and slid it across the table. If you ever need someone to talk to, call this number. Tyler picked it up. There was no fancy logo, no name, just a simple phone number. He looked up at Keanu. You're serious? Keanu nodded. Yeah, kid, I am. And with that he gave Tyler a small nod and walked toward the door. Before stepping out into the street, he turned back one last time. See you around, Tyler. Tyler watched as Keanu disappeared into the city. He looked down at the card, then at his new shoes. For the first time in a long time, he felt something warm in his chest. Hope. And this time he wasn't going to let it go. To be continued. Would you like me to keep going? Keanu Reeves sitting on a park bench with a homeless boy, Part 6. Tyler sat at the table long after Keanu had left, staring at the small card in his hand. A simple phone number. No name, no promises, just an open door if he ever wanted to walk through it. He didn't know why, but he slipped the card deep into his hoodie pocket like it was something valuable. Maybe it was. For the next few days, Tyler stayed at the shelter. He didn't talk much, but he ate. He slept, and for the first time in a long time, he didn't have to worry about where he'd wake up the next morning. Then, on the fourth day, something happened that changed everything. Tyler had just finished breakfast and was sitting outside the shelter, watching the city move. People walked past, rushing to work, talking on phones, living lives he felt he could never be part of. That was when he noticed the black SUV pull up across the street. At first, he didn't think much of it. Cars came and went all the time. But when the tinted window rolled down and a man in a dark suit stepped out, his instincts kicked in. Something wasn't right. The man looked around, then locked eyes with Tyler. Tyler's breath caught. He knew that look. He had seen it before, the kind of gaze that meant trouble. The man smirked and started walking toward him. Tyler's heart pounded. He stood up quickly, ready to run. But before he could move, the man called out, Hey kid, no need to run. Just want to talk. Tyler's hands clenched into fists. I don't talk to strangers. The man chuckled. Smart, but I think you'll want to hear this. Tyler didn't respond. He just took a step back, ready to bolt if he had to. The man sighed, then reached into his pocket and pulled out something. A photo. He held it up, just enough for Tyler to see. Tyler froze. It was a picture of him, sitting on the park bench, with Keanu. "Seems like you made an interesting friend," the man said, tucking the photo away. "And I'd really love to know what he told you." Tyler's mind raced. Who was this guy? How did he know about Keanu? And why did he care? The man took another step closer, his voice lowering. "Come on, kid. Just a little chat. No big deal." Tyler's pulse hammered. Every instinct screamed at him to run. Then he remembered the card in his pocket. Without thinking, he turned and sprinted back inside the shelter. He ran straight to his room, slammed the door, and yanked out the card. His fingers shook as he dialed the number. It rang once, twice. Then a familiar voice picked up. "Tyler? Keanu?" Tyler's breath was shaky. "There's a guy looking for you. He has a picture of us. He knows." A pause. Then Keanu's voice, calm but serious. "Where are you?" "Still at the shelter. Stay there. Don't go outside. I'm coming." The line went dead. Tyler's hands tightened around the phone. What the hell was going on? To be continued. Want me to keep going? Keanu Reeves, sitting on a park bench with a homeless boy, Part 7. Tyler sat on the edge of his bed, his heart pounding. His mind raced with questions. Who was that guy? What did he want with Keanu? And why did he have a picture of them? Minutes felt like hours. He gripped the phone tightly, wondering if Keanu would actually come. Then, just when he was about to lose hope, he heard it, the deep rumble of a motorcycle outside. Tyler ran to the window and peeked through the blinds. A sleek black motorcycle had pulled up in front of the shelter. Sitting on it, dressed in all black, was Keanu Reeves. Tyler exhaled in relief. Keanu swung his leg off the bike and walked into the shelter like he had done it 1,000 times before. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp, focused like he was ready for something. Tyler rushed downstairs and found Keanu talking to the woman at the front desk. She pointed toward Tyler and Keanu turned. "Hey, kid." His voice was steady, but there was a hint of concern. Tyler walked up quickly. "That guy, he was looking for you, had a picture of us on the bench." Keanu nodded, like he already expected this. "What did he say?" Tyler swallowed. "He wanted to know what you told me." Keanu's jaw tightened slightly. He looked around the shelter, then back at Tyler. "Come with me." Tyler hesitated. "Where?" "Somewhere safe." The way he said it sent a chill down Tyler's spine, but something in Keanu's voice told him to trust him. Without another word, he followed Keanu outside. The motorcycle roared as they weaved through the city streets. Tyler held on tightly, his mind spinning. "Who was that guy?" he shouted over the wind. Keanu didn't answer immediately. When he finally spoke, his voice was low. "Someone who works for the wrong kind of people." Tyler frowned. "And they're after you?" Keanu sighed. "Not just me. They're after what I know." Tyler's stomach twisted. "What does that mean?" Keanu didn't respond. Instead, he took a sharp turn and pulled into an underground parking garage. He killed the engine and motioned for Tyler to follow him. They took an elevator up to a quiet modern apartment. It was clean but simple, like someone lived there but didn't want to leave a trace. Keanu locked the door behind them. Tyler looked around. "You live here?" Keanu shook his head. "Just a place to lay low when I need to." Tyler was getting more confused by the second. "Keanu, what the hell is going on?" Keanu sighed, rubbing a hand through his hair. "Look, kid, there's something I didn't tell you that night on the bench." Tyler crossed his arms. "Yeah? No kidding." Keanu smirked for a second, then grew serious. "A long time ago, I got mixed up with some powerful people. I thought I left that life behind, but clearly they haven't forgotten." Tyler's eyes widened. "Wait, are you saying?" Keanu cut him off. "What I know could ruin them. And now that they've seen me with you, they might think you know something too." Tyler felt his chest tighten. "But I don't." Keanu gave him a steady look. "That doesn't matter to them." A cold chill ran through Tyler. He wasn't just some homeless kid anymore. He was caught in the middle of something way bigger than he could have imagined. Then there was a knock at the door. Both of them froze. Keanu's expression darkened. Slowly he reached behind him and pulled out a small black pistol from a hidden holster. He put a finger to his lips. Tyler's heart pounded as the knock came again. Whoever was outside wasn't just here for a friendly visit. And suddenly Tyler realized this wasn't just about him anymore. It was about survival. To be continued. Do you want more?